Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant to talk about some of the absolute best characters you can summon in the game. If you've been wondering which cases are worth your precious resources, don't worry, we've got you covered. We'll be ranking these characters from S tier, the absolute cream of the crop, all the way down to B tier, still solid but just not quite as game-breaking. Whether you're looking to build a powerful team or just want to know which characters will give you the best bang for your buck, this tier list will help you make the best choices. So, grab your favorite snack and get comfortable because we're about to take a deep dive into the most powerful cases in Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant. We'll break down their roles, affinities, and why they stand out as top tier choices. From those who absolutely dominate on the battlefield to the ones that still hold their ground but don't quite reach the top, we'll cover it all. Ready to build your dream team? Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking characters in Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Regina, Teleret, and Griff. Alright, let's dive straight into the heart of Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant and talk about some of the B tier characters. These are the ones that don't quite reach the heights of the top tier gods, but they still bring something to the table. They're those dependable picks that can absolutely shine when used correctly. First up, we've got Regina, and trust me, this one is a bit of a hidden gem. Regina is an SSR grade support type character, and while she might not be a pure damage dealer, she knows how to support her team in style. Her first ability, Radiance, is pretty cool. Regina swings her giant sword and deals 63% physical damage to enemies in the front row, but here's the kicker. She also lowers their hit rate by 10 for 1 round. That's a pretty solid way to throw off your opponent's accuracy, which is always a nice touch in a tough fight. But wait, it gets better. Regina's passive ability, Blossom, makes her even more interesting. Every time she takes action, she gains a stack of expertise. So, what does that do? Well, when Regina retreats, she uses those stacks to reduce 1 rage from a random enemy per stack. This can really mess with the enemy's ability to unleash powerful abilities, especially if she's been stacking those expertise points throughout the fight. Regina's all about giving the enemy a headache, and she's pretty good at it. Moving on, let's talk about Teleret, who is an SSR grade DPS character. Teleret brings the power with her giant axe, and trust me, when she swings that thing, it's gonna leave a mark. Her first active ability, Chop Down, deals a solid 100% physical damage to a single enemy, but the real fun starts with her second ability, Smash Down. Teleret goes all out, dealing 238% physical damage to a whole row of enemies. If the target's HP is higher than Teleret's, she also hits them with armor and magic resistance, 20% for 2 rounds. That's a huge debuff that can really swing the battle in your favor, especially against tanky enemies. Now don't let the looks fool you. Teleret isn't just a one-hit wonder. She can wear down entire rows of enemies, and with that armor debuff, she can make sure they don't survive long enough to retaliate. She's the kind of DPS that doesn't just hit hard, she also creates opportunities for her team to deal even more damage. If you've got a lot of high damage allies in your squad, Teleret's the one who can set them up for those big moments. Next, we've got Griff, another SSR grade DPS character. And man, does she bring the heat. Her first active ability, Oath Gun, sees Griff charging forward and dealing 88% magic damage to a whole row of enemies. But here's the real kicker. She also deals true damage equal to 10% of each target's max HP, with the true damage capped at 200% of Griff's attack. So even if the enemy has high HP, Griff can still chip away at them, and if they're tanks, she's especially dangerous. What makes Griff stand out is that she's not just a typical damage dealer. With that true damage, she bypasses defenses and can target even the tankiest of enemies. This means that even if you're up against those big boss type characters or heavy tanks, Griff can still hit where it hurts, and that can be a game changer in tough battles. It's not all about raw damage for her, it's about finding the weakness in every opponent. One of the things to keep in mind with B tier cases like these is that, while they might not be the flashiest or most broken characters in the game, they each have something that can make them really shine in the right hands. Regina, Teleret, and Griff all have abilities that can really change the tide of battle when used strategically. It's all about knowing when to trigger those abilities and how to play off of their strengths. So, what's the takeaway here? Don't sleep on these B tier characters. Regina might seem like a pure support character, but she can disrupt enemies and protect her team in a way that makes her a valuable asset. Tower is a heavy hitter who can shred through rows of enemies and debuff them, while Griff is that sneaky DPS that finds ways to bypass the toughest defenses. They're not S tier, but they've definitely earned their spot on the team if you know how to make the most of their abilities. At the end of the day, every character has a time to shine, and even these B tier cases have their place in the right squad. So if you're building a team, don't be afraid to experiment with them. You might just find the perfect combo that works for you. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Vedfolnir, Vivi, Set, and Yulia. Alright, so let's dive into the A tier characters from Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant. These are the characters that pack a punch and really make a difference in the game. Whether you're a fan of powerful DPS, supportive roles, or even some tough tanks, this tier has a little something for everyone. So grab your favorite snack and let's talk about these powerhouse characters. First up, we have Vedfolnir, who is an absolute beast when it comes to dealing damage. She's an SSR grade DPS character, and her abilities really reflect that. Her first active ability, Behead, targets the enemy with the lowest HP and deals physical damage of 114% of Vedfolnir's attack. The idea of her hunting down the weakest enemy is just so satisfying to watch in action, but that's not all. Her passive, Down From Above, ups her attack damage by 20%, and the more her HP decreases, the stronger she becomes. Plus, at the start of the battle, she not only gives herself a 10% damage reduction, but she also buffs her allies with 10% bonus damage for 2 rounds. Who doesn't love a character that can deal crazy damage and buff her team at the same time, right? Moving on to Vivi, the ultimate support hero in this tier. Vivi is an SSR grade support character with some seriously strong abilities. Her first active ability, Lightning Flash, is a nice little magic attack that hits the 2 enemies with the lowest HP, dealing 70% magic damage. But her real magic happens with her second active ability, Holy Judgment. Vivi enters Gospel mode and casts a divine spell that targets 3 random enemies, dealing 173% magic damage. Oh, and there's a 20% chance to reduce their rage by 2 with each hit. If you're looking for a character who can deal solid damage and manage enemy rage, Vivi is definitely the one to have on your side. Next up is Set, who's another DPS powerhouse. This SSR grade character comes with a unique set of abilities that make her a force to be reckoned with. Her first active ability, Flowing Gold Blade, hits 4 random enemies with 5% magic damage and has a 50% chance to apply armor break for 1 round. But the real kicker is her passive ability, Vengeance. Set deals 30% extra damage to any target that has received healing or shielding in the current or previous round. This makes her a perfect counter against those pesky characters who rely on healing or shields to stay alive. If you're facing off against tanky enemies, Set's the one you want to bring into the fight. Now let's talk about Yulia, who's the tank you never knew you needed. This SSR grade character is all about keeping the team alive while dealing some decent damage herself. Her first active ability, Frostbite, sees Yulia charging forward and dealing 120% physical damage to a single enemy while restoring 5% of her max HP. But what really sets her apart is her passive, Cunning Prey. At the end of each round, Yulia restores 5% of her max HP, as well as 5% of her armor and resistance. This stacks up to 3 times, making her an absolute tank that's hard to take down. If you need someone to soak up damage and keep your team in the game, Yulia is your girl. So what do all these characters have in common? Well, they're all incredibly versatile, making them perfect for almost any team composition. Whether you're looking for pure DPS, support, or even tankiness, these A-tier characters deliver. They've got the right balance of power, utility, and sustainability to make sure you can take on whatever challenges the game throws your way. If you're just starting out in Echocalypse, Scarlet Covenant, or if you're looking to improve your team, these A-tier characters are an absolute must. They not only perform well on their own, but also work incredibly well with other characters. Vedfolnir's damage dealing is potential, Vivi's support, Set's vengeance-based playstyle, and Yulia's tankiness are all key to building a well-rounded team that can handle all types of battles. And let's not forget about how satisfying it is to see these characters in action. Whether it's Vedfolnir taking down a weak enemy with a brutal behead, Vivi casting her Holy Judgment and watching those enemies rage down, Set swinging her weapon with Flowing Gold Blade while breaking armor, or Yulia tanking like a champ with Frostbite. These characters just bring so much fun to the game. It's the kind of gameplay that makes you want to jump back in again and again. So, if you've got some SSR tickets saved up or you're planning your next big summon, keep these A tier characters in mind. With their solid abilities, they're sure to bring a new level of power and strategy to your team. No matter what kind of playstyle you prefer, there's an A tier character here who can help you dominate the battlefield. But hey, if you've already got these characters or you're just curious about others, don't worry, we'll be diving into more tiers and characters soon, so stay tuned for even more tips and breakdowns. Until then, enjoy leveling up your A tier characters and see just how much they can do in your next battle. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Daisy, Hera, Mordred, Audrey, and Caroline. Alright, buckle up, because we're diving into some of the absolute heavy hitters of Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant today. These aren't just your regular cases, we're talking about the top tier, the creme de la creme, the S tier legends that you'll want on your team if you're looking to dominate the battlefield. Let's go through them one by one, and trust me, you're gonna want to take notes. First up, we've got Daisy, and let me tell you, this DPS powerhouse is an absolute game changer. Daisy's first active ability, from here on out, is basically the definition of "I'm gonna wreck you." She swings her weapon, marks time, and bam, pierces the enemy with a hefty 92% of her attack. What's even more fun? She hits a random row of enemies, but the real kicker is that she entangles the top 3 targets with Shades of History for 2 rounds. Those enemies are going nowhere, and neither is Daisy's dominance in the fight. Next up, Hera, the healing queen herself. While her abilities may seem chill at first glance, trust me, there's more to her than meets the eye. Frost Scythe, her first active ability, deals 40% magic damage to all enemies, and there's a 20% chance to recover extra rage. But here's where it gets interesting. Her passive ability, Touch of Death, means that 30% of the damage she deals actually heals all allies. So yeah, while she's draining the life out of enemies, she's also keeping her team in top shape. Now, let's talk about Mordred, the true embodiment of DPS in all its glory. If you like to see enemies crumble under intense physical damage, then Mordred is your girl. Dragon's Breath at Dawn hits the front row with 64% of her attack and has a 50% chance to apply the Dragon's Breath debuff for 2 rounds. But wait, there's more. Mordred also strips away 100% of her target's shield with every attack. Shielded enemies, not on her watch. Now, onto Audrey, a healing type case who's got a little more in her bag than just typical healing. Her marching charge deals 126% magic damage to a random enemy, with a 10% chance to apply silent for a quick second. No one can escape her wrath. But the fun doesn't stop there. Her passive ability, Noble Obligations, ensures she starts the battle with full rage. Plus, when her HP drops below 30%, she boosts all allies' attack by 10% for 2 rounds. Talk about a comeback mechanic. Next, let's give a round of applause for Caroline, the ultimate support character. She might not seem like the flashiest pick at first, but her abilities are all about setting up the team for success. Her Mating Whip deals 64% physical damage to 3 random enemies, and each time an ally takes action, she drops a ring of fire on her side of the battlefield. This ring of fire isn't just for show though, it removes control effects from her and adds true damage based on her armor and resistance. So every time an ally acts, it's like a little fireworks show of bonus damage and debuff removal. Alright, now we've talked about some serious powerhouses, but what makes these characters stand out isn't just their raw damage or healing, it's the way their abilities are crafted to not only deal with the enemy, but also support and protect their team. For instance, Daisy's entanglement isn't just about locking down enemies, it sets up opportunities for your other cases to hit harder. Hera's healing isn't just passive, it's woven into her damage output, making her an offensive and defensive asset all in one. And let's not forget Mordred's ability to dismantle shields. If you're facing a team full of shield-heavy enemies, Mordred is going to be your best friend. It's like watching her play a game of chess, where the enemy's defenses are nothing but pawns waiting to be knocked down. Audrey's rage mechanic also gives her the edge when things get rough. That full rage start gives you a serious head start, and her attack buffing once she's below 30% HP is like a perfect finishing move. Your allies get stronger just when you need it most, and that can turn the tide of battle. Caroline, on the other hand, might fly under the radar for some players, but I promise, once you understand her Mating Whip and the true damage she provides through those rings of fire, you'll wonder how you ever played without her. She's not just a healer, she's a game changer in every sense of the word. Each of these cases brings something unique to the table. Daisy's ability to entangle and deal massive damage, Hera's healing and rage generation, Mordred's physical damage and shield removal, Audrey's rage boost and attack buff, and Caroline's Ring of Fire true damage. These are the kinds of abilities that make S tier cases so incredibly powerful in Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant. So if you're lucky enough to pull any of these SSR grade gems, you're in for a treat. Not only are they strong individually, but together they form a squad that can take on just about any challenge the game throws at you. Whether you're looking to deal insane damage, support your team, or just crush the enemy's hopes and dreams, these S tier cases have you covered. In the world of Echocalypse Scarlet Covenant, having one or more of these characters on your roster can make the difference between victory and defeat. They bring balance, power, and versatility in ways that lower tier cases just can't match. So if you're serious about making it to the top, these are the cases you want in your corner. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.